All right, guys, welcome back. We are talking Arizona Deer Draw 2023, Unit 35. Unit 35 is divided into two subunits, 35A and 35B. This is a border touching unit. Both of these units touch the Mexican border. They do have their share of immigration and immigration issues. That should not be any concern of you if you're chasing after white-tailed deer, specifically Coues white-tailed deer, and even mule deer in these areas. But specifically, guys, it doesn't really matter that much. You're going to see some activity potentially with Border Patrol. You're going to see, especially if you're hunting close to the border, you're going to potentially see some humans crossing the border that do not have a American citizenship. But it doesn't matter. Be aware, stay safe. Use common sense, and for the most part, guys, they don't like climbing up into the mountains where the Coues deer live. Some of them do, but usually they're just trying to get to the main roads, easiest way out as possible, trying to get to the highway, trying to get to Highway I-19 or Highway 80, whatever it is, and get out of here. So that's my immigration spiel about that. Guys, just be aware, use common sense, don't be afraid. Me and myself and my guys have been hunting down there for a long time. Never had any danger, never have any health type situation scares. You just get used to it. You get used to seeing some Border Patrol around, potentially seeing people, but not a big deal. So let's talk 35A, 35B. One of my favorite units, honestly. 35A is a really, really cool unit. It has a little bit of everything. It's kind of one of those units. Again, it's kind of a sky island. The Huachuca Mountains sit right there in 35A and create the perfect Sonoran Desert Coues deer habitat. Goes way up high, desert Florida way up high, and it's just awesome. There's lots of water in 35A, lots of Mearns quail in 35A, black bears. There is mule deer, and there is obviously Coues whitetail. So, and there's also quite a few Coatimundi in 35A too. If you don't know what that is, look one up. They do exist. We see them every year. They're pretty funny little animals that live in the desert. So 35A, one of the issues, or one of the, I would say, obstacles, or it's not private land, but it is a military base. So in 35A, you have the Huachuca, the Fort Huachuca is what it's called. It's a active military base. It does cut off about half of the access to the Huachuca Mountains for hunting if you're not active or retired military. So understand that basically it's that whole eastern front of the Huachuca Mountains is restricted. But all the other hunting on every other side basically is wide open. So phenomenal country for Coues deer, phenomenal populations, phenomenal draw odds. There's some really, really big deer that live there. It's pretty much got everything. So kind of like 34A, 35A has got a cool little lake there too, Parker Canyon Lake. It's a pretty cool little spot to go trout fishing. And there's, you drive up that lake and you will see Coues deer. If you've never seen one before in your life, go take a drive up there. You'll see them off the side of the road every single time you drive up there. So really cool, really, some of the features and some of the roads up there, really cool overlooks and looking over the flats, basically looking into Mexico. So there's some limitations with, just general access, into some of that Huachuca mountain range, just because it's very, very steep. There's not a ton of roads. Road hunting isn't like great, a lot of the deer that live up in there, they live and die of old age. They live up in the tops of those mountains. So very, very rugged, very steep, very thick. So keep that in mind. And I will say 35A, you can be pretty successful road hunting it, honestly. I mean, it's not one of those units where you got to backpack in places to get away from people. I mean, these Coues deer live in the rolling hills. They don't live in the very tops of the mountains specifically. They live throughout 35A. So even stuff that really looks like mule deer country, like the lower, the flats, the grasslands, there will be Coues deer living in there. So it's kind of one of those units where it's like really heavy Coues. There is mule deer. There's actually some giant mule deer in there too. But again, it's very on the periphery of the units, and specifically, more on the really low stuff. So even if there's any elevation, there's going to have Coues deer, rolling hills type stuff. Anytime you see those oaks too, those Coues deer love the oaks and some of that rolling grasslands. So if you go in there and you're like, man, that looks like it's all Coues deer down there in the flats, or all mule deer country down there in the flats, just keep looking, because you will probably end up seeing Coues deer where you think it's only mule deer. That's a little pro tip for 35A. 35B is very similar. So 35B has a lot bigger mule deer population, has a pretty decent mule deer population, but not a mule deer hunting spot specifically. You know, they don't give out a lot of tags. They give out any antler deer tags, which basically is like, hey, if you come across a mule deer, you can shoot one. They do that in 34A as well. Like they have a couple, they're not mule deer tags, but they're like any antler deer tags. They have a cool muzzleloader hunt in 35A and B that combines it. So they give out a few muzzleloader tags that are an any antler deer tag. So you can hunt mule deer, but for the most part, 35B is a Coues deer area specifically. It's the closest section, closest like city or whatever is Nogales. So if you look on a map and you go down Nogales, basically 35B is that eastern border. It divides that I-19 divides 35A and 36, or 35B and 36A, but 35B is the same thing. I mean, Coues deer throughout, mountains throughout, and so even stuff, guys, that looks like mule deer country, so either little rolling grasslands, there will be Coues deer in there. There's going to be Coues deer pretty much throughout all of 35A and B in every terrain. There's going to be a handful of antelope out there too, which is kind of cool because there's not a lot of antelope in southern Arizona, but they got a handful of antelope out there, which is pretty neat to see. So if you're hunting 35A and B, don't limit yourself to the tallest mountains or the nastiest things. I mean, if you want to get away from people and you're looking for a bigger deer and potentially where the bigger deer live, then definitely separate yourself by your feet. Separate yourself by going where people will not go because of physical limitations or hunting, just overall hunting limitations if they don't have the rifle that can shoot as far across these giant canyons. But don't limit yourself to that. If you want to hunt the low stuff, there's going to be Coues deer in the low stuff. Very, very foot friendly, very side by side and truck friendly. So it's a unit that you can pretty much hunt all over. Very easy draw odds for the most part in both these units too, which is awesome. That's one thing that I really like about Arizona. Draw odds are good in some of these units where the populations are good. You know, it's not always draw odds are good where the populations are terrible because there's no deer there. In some of these southern Arizona units, I mean, the deer are there. There is awesome populations and awesome trophy potential and great draw odds. So it works really well for guys that A, want to hunt every year, or B, are new to hunting and they want to get drawn and kind of get their feet wet, as a resident or non-resident. So get your feet wet. If it's your first time applying, it's a great place to apply. You'll see animals, you'll see deer, and have a chance, and then kind of get an understanding of how the unit works, what it looks like, and maybe, start that much closer, start that much better off the next year after you spent some time hunting in there. And that's how you get good at hunting. That's how you be successful year after year, is you just learn and understand the animal patterns. And this is going to be a good year, guys, with all the precipitation. The animals are going to be out friendly. The bucks are going to be hiding still, I hate to tell you, but it's going to be healthy. There's going to be water everywhere. So there should be good populations to present themselves. So get drawn, get after it out there. It's a great place to hunt. I love 35 altogether. And I hope that helped. I hope it encourages you to draw some of these units and really clear the air. Like, what's the deal? Why are the draw odds good here and not good here? And where is a good place with good draw odds? So that's kind of my take on 35A and B as I've seen it and as I've personally experienced it over the years. Great place to hunt. So good luck, guys. I hope that helped. Talk to you later.